Coming up this week, the tolls, they are a-changin', where the tolls are going up this weekend. Cashless tolling is spreading from the Delaware River to Kansas. We'll bring you up to date. And the season's first named storm narrowly misses Texas and the Gulf Coast, and that's where we take a look at evacuation routes this week. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's update of all that's coming down the pike. The start of July marks a change in tolls across several states. We gave you the heads-up story about 3 weeks ago, and this weekend tolls go up in California, Kentucky, and Indiana, where annual July 1st price changes are about to happen. In Kentucky, the cost of crossing from Indiana into Louisville and vice versa will now cost $261 for folks driving a passenger car or SUV and using a transponder, whether that's a RiverLink or the compatible Easy Pass or SunPass Pro. Pay by plate will now cost $522 per crossing, and that's for regular cars, vans, pickups, and the like. For haulers, the 5-axle plus rate is now an even $13 for rigs and large trucks paying with a transponder. The pay by plate rate is now $15.61. Crossing the Golden Gate Bridge will go up as well, as the first of 5 planned annual increases goes into effect. For passenger cars, SUVs, and other 2-axle vehicles, the southbound crossing will increase from $875 to $925 for transponder users, and the invoice rate, that's license plate tolling, will increase to $1025. Remember, only California's fast-track transponders are accepted, otherwise you'll get the higher-priced invoice. As for Indiana, annual toll increases do happen on July 1st, but the Indiana Toll Road Concession Company rarely provides notice beforehand. The last time we were informed ahead of time was 7 years ago in 2017, but the ITRCC has typically raised rates on an annual basis in those intervening years. Meanwhile, the way you pay tolls in Kansas is going to change on July 1st as the Sunflower State goes cashless on the Kansas Turnpike. Kansas Turnpike Authority has been preparing the public for the transition with copious videos and, in recent weeks, pop-up events around Kansas to help drivers understand the change and hopefully get a K-Tag account instead of opting in for license plate tolling. In a KTA news release, the agency announced the transition on the road will happen July 1st. However, it will take a week for the migration to happen both online and at the KTA agency offices. That part of the transition starts June 29th. That's when all K-Tag and online payment systems will go down. The digital portion of the migration is expected to be completed by July 7th, however. The KTA also announced anyone who incurs a violation or license plate charge between June 29th and July 7th will have the entirety of July to pay that violation or the invoice for their new license plate tolling. In case you missed it, the Delaware River bridges, those connecting Pennsylvania and New Jersey and operated by the Delaware River Joint Toll Bridge Commission, are also going cashless. 3 of the 8 bridges operated by the Bridge Commission converted during the past week. Those bridges are the Milford-Montague, Portland-Columbia, and the New Hope-Lambertville bridges. Of course, anyone with an Easy Pass or compatible transponder will not notice a difference. Those without a transponder will now get a monthly invoice for their tolls. Speaking of tolls, the hot weather has taken its toll across the nation. That dome of high pressure that had been generating record heat has now been pushed out for cooler temperatures, which began over the weekend. However, record heat in the oceans and Gulf of Mexico has already yielded plenty of action in the tropics, and Texas narrowly averted being smacked by a named system over the past week. This week, we continue our look at hurricane evacuation routes, and the timing could not be more perfect for our look at Texas and Louisiana. Both Texas and Louisiana have had their portion of tropical disasters. Their coastal positions in the Gulf of Mexico and the low-lying terrain provide little resistance when a storm makes landfall, often saturating regions well inland in both states. This makes inland evacuation more crucial, particularly in the event of a major storm. Because of Texas' size, it has a long oceanic coastline, ranking it 6th overall in coastal miles among U.S. states. Louisiana ranks 5th because of its unique shape on the Gulf. Key evacuation points in Texas are Brownsville, Corpus Christi, Rockport, Galveston, Houston, and of course Port Arthur and Beaumont. For Louisiana, the entirety of Bayou Country, situated between Lafayette and New Orleans, has to evacuate to either of those 2 cities, or directly north out of Morgan City towards Baton Rouge. In Texas, State Highway 550 in Brownsville is the southernmost toll road impacted by evacuation, as it directly connects the Port of Brownsville with I-69E. I-69E, in turn, connects with I-2, which carries traffic well inland on a western path. I-37 is the key evacuation route from Corpus Christi, and US 181 can be used as an alternative, as both move traffic well inland and away from storm surge. As for the Houston-Galveston area, things are a little more problematic due to the low-lying terrain, which leaves a significant population in the danger zone when a storm approaches. The key for this area is to evacuate as far west as possible, or to get to Houston's north and northwest side at the very least. From Galveston, I-45 will connect with State Highway 6, which can then move traffic and evacuees inland without putting pressure on Houston. For their part, people in Houston would need to evacuate north and northwest, which can be done via the Grand Parkway, I-45, and I-69. But if using I-69, be sure to get north of Porter to get out of the dangerous inland flood zones. Other western routes out of Houston include I-10 and the West Park Tollway toll road. Louisiana, particularly New Orleans, is either at or below sea level, and evacuating to higher ground can be tricky, primarily because most of the major routes in the south of Louisiana run east and west. But two of these, I-10 and US 90, can get evacuees inland toward I-49 or to I-55. US 90 becomes I-49 north of I-10, west of Lafayette. I-55 connects to I-10 just west of New Orleans. For those evacuating north and east, I-59 can be used as well, as it connects with I-10 just north and east of Lake Pontchartrain near Slidell. Other routes out of New Orleans include the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, which is the long toll bridge that traverses the center of the lake. In all cases, evacuations will result in extreme traffic. Planning ahead and knowing your potential evacuation routes is critical to both saving time and your life in an evacuation. That is going to wrap things up for this week. Next week, we'll take a look once again at the cashless transition happening in Kansas, as well as a look ahead to the July 4th holiday weekend. Woo! Until then, drive safely, remembering situational awareness. And thanks once again for watching from all of us at Turnpikes.com, the Turnpike Authority.